Good morning. So lovely that you can all make it today. Anne and Lee, just finishing off a few little things, getting ready. They're here on the stage with us. This is a very, very exciting time. You are in the presence of two wonderful people, two people who I'm big fans of their work. My name is Sally Rippon, and I'm so excited to be presenting this session today. This is the 30th year of the Melbourne Writers Festival, which is a pretty big deal. It's like a 30th birthday party, which is way older than anyone else in this room. But it's also important to remember that before we had this beautiful Federation Square here, even before Melbourne was here, there were other people who were the storytellers of our land in this very place, and they were from the Kulin Nation. So it's really important we remember that when we're in this place. So I'm so excited to kick off this session. I can see lots of you have got pencils and paper to draw with, which is amazing. Put your hands up here. How many of you love drawing? There are a couple of people on this stage who love drawing too. I think Anne likes drawing a little bit. Lee, you tend to draw a little bit in your spare time, yeah? So I want to introduce these two fantastic people, and I'm going to tell you a little bit about how their friendship has developed and some of the amazing activities they're going to take you through today. So first of all, let's give a big hand for the wonderful Anne James here on my right. And next to Anne James is Lee Hobbs. Let's give Lee Hobbs a great big clap. Now, you will know lots of their work, and Anne and Lee have been friends for quite a long time, and they've both always loved drawing. Ever since they were your age, they've always been drawing. And really, that's the secret, isn't it? A lot of practice is what makes you to be a really good drawer. So these guys have been drawing for a really long time, and they've been friends for a really long time too. And they've both been illustrators for a long time. And Anne's very first book, A Pet for Mrs. Arbuckle, might be one that some of you have seen before. So should we have a little peek of the cover of Pet of Mrs. Arbuckle? If you've got that there, we can have a look at it. So this was Anne's very first book. Can you remember when that was published?
1981.
Wow, that's pretty special. That makes that a very, very special book. And Lee's first book, Old Tom, can we have a look at the cover of Old Tom? Have you got one there? Or even just a picture of Old Tom? How many of you know Old Tom? Do you all love Old Tom?
He's a
Old
sweetie.
Tom has been fantastic. So can you see that those are both cats, aren't they? But drawn in such a different way. Let's have a look at some of Anne's more recent books that you might recognise too. So Anne has also got a book called I'm a Dirty Dinosaur. Have you got one there that we can have a look at, Anne?
Yep.
This is a beautiful rhyming book, and there were two of them together. So there was the dirty dinosaur who played in the mud, and then there was also the hungry dinosaur. And what's the hungry dinosaur one made out of?
Let me show you.
Sorry, I'm diverting from our very carefully considered notes here, but I just thought it was really nice where they could see the cover.
This is fun. This is like juggling books. When I did the hungry dinosaur, the dirty dinosaur, I didn't even know the hungry dinosaur was going to happen. I decided to paint using mud. So this is one of the actual drawings from I'm a Dirty Dinosaur with the mud, and I used a magic pencil, which I'll show you later, to do the line work. When it came time for me to do I'm a Hungry Dinosaur, I thought, well, I could do it in watercolour. I thought, that's not very exciting, not as exciting as mud. I couldn't do it in mud, so I decided I would use chocolate icing and hundreds and thousands. And you can see the hundreds and thousands are spilling around, and my house is full of hundreds and thousands. My scanner is full of hundreds and thousands. Even my bed is full of hundreds and thousands.
And I hope that sometimes when you were drawing the two drawings together, you didn't accidentally put your finger in the mud and lick it instead of the chocolate icing. That would
does
be a
happen.
disaster.
Yesterday we did a workshop with kids, and we made sure we did the mud painting before we did the icing painting. This is what happened when my dog Dot found my artwork.
She didn't lick the mud off though, did she?
No,
Just
she didn't like the mud.
So these are Anne's newest books, and you can see Anne uses lots of different materials to illustrate her pictures, which we'll talk about a little bit more. But I just want to introduce a couple of Lee's newest books as well, because as well as Old Tom, Lee has another very crazy character who's absolutely adorable in a very crazy kind of way. His name is Mr. Chicken, and we have Mr. Chicken Goes to Paris.
Yeah,
and
so
also, what do you want to say about Mr. Chicken Goes to Paris?
Here, I've just got to see where it fits. I've got to try and not fall off the stage. There we are. Oh, beautiful. So, kids, I've made up a few different characters. Here's sort of, you can see a few of them there. I'm just going to check. Oh, yeah, there we are. But after Old Tom, there was Horrible Harriet and Fiona the Pig. But my most recent character that sort of got a little bit out of hand, he's on the loose really, is Mr. Chicken. And so here he is. He's gone to Paris, and here he is in his in the newest book, Mr. Chicken lands on London. And at the moment at home, I'm working on another one. He's going to Rome next and rides round Rome on the back of a motorbike with his friend Frederica. So Anne and I, in a way, both make up characters.
You do, and you have a very distinctive style. So can you see that some of Lee's drawings have a similar feel? So he might use line work in a similar way, or he might use a kind of a characteristic of I think Old Tom and perhaps Mr. Chicken look like they might have a bit of attitude. And Anne has a very distinctive style of her own as well. So that's a lot about what these two want to talk to you a little bit about today, is that you can develop your own style. So often when you first start out, you might look at the way that other people draw and you might think, I wish I could draw like that, or I wish I could draw like that. But what will happen after practice is you develop your own style, and that's what makes your work truly unique. So I thought we'd do a little experiment here. You remember what Mr. Old Tom looks like and how different he looked to the cat in A Pet for Mrs. Arbuckle. They have very different styles there. I thought we could do a little bit of a draw-off, like a little bit of a competition, and we're going to show how differently two illustrators can draw the same animals. So I reckon a cat is a pretty good start. Are you both okay to draw a cat?
Yeah, oh yes.
I'll sweep off the hundreds and thousands.
Now, I'm working with a pen and ink, which already, look, there's mess. I take my coat off only, it's got a microphone in it. So where are we here? So, kids, Anne draws with everything, just about.
All at once?
Yeah, all at once. I draw with pen and ink, which I love because it means that when I press hard, the line goes thick. Oh, that's if the ink comes out. But I can press lightly, like that, so I can get all sorts of different lines in the one drawing. So, what are we drawing?
You're drawing a cat and I'm drawing a cat.
Well,
and don't copy me.
No, all right.
So it's just as well these two are friends, isn't it?
Is the cat doing anything in particular?
Don't even ask.
All right, okay.
You don't get any clues. That gives too much away.
I think the kids will know the sort of cat that I'm drawing. He's a sweetie.
Well, mine is a sweetie too.
I think mine would bite Anne's.
Mine would chew you up. Mine's a very fluffy cat, and this is a cat I had for 14 years, and he had such a strong personality. He was a ginger cat, and if anybody knows ginger cats, they've got a particular lively personality. And he had such a strong personality, I didn't know what to call him, so I just called him Cat. And he was amazing character.
How many people in the audience have a cat at home? Do you have a cat with attitude? Who's got a cat at home with a little bit of attitude? Cats kind of rule the house, don't they? They're not like dogs. Dogs, they tend to work around you. You know, they're very thoughtful towards their owners, but cats kind of rule the house. They don't like to be told what to do.
Cats are cool.
They are pretty cool.
Yeah.
Cool as cats.
Cool as cats.
Yeah.
I've got to see how big that is.
So do you think those drawings look the
Oh,
same?
you're right.
They're both drawing a cat, aren't they? But how different are their cats? It shows a lot about their different attitudes towards cats as well. We've heard a little bit about Anne's cat that she had before, and it sounds like you had quite a good relationship with your cat.
This is
Anne.
the ginger cat here. I'll just show you. I'll hold the ginger cat up.
Beautiful. Now,
Yeah.
I would live with that cat.
He looks angelic, but he would ambush me when I came out of the shower.
And how about you, Lee? You've lived with a cat before.
No, I don't like cats at all. I'm allergic to cats. I've got... oh, look, there's a lady down there that looks really disappointed. No, I don't like cats, kids, because I'm allergic to them. Cats and wattle, they make me get terrible hay fever. I love dogs, and I've got two blue heelers, and really Old Tom is a mixture of a blue heeler mixed with a Tasmanian devil, and your brother. So if you think of those three things, that's what Old Tom is like as far as his personality, all right?
So it's almost like when an illustrator comes up with their own character, very much like an author a lot of the way that they feel about the character comes up in their drawing. So if you look at Anne's cat, I think I would quite comfortably live with a cat like that in the house and give him an odd pet as he went past. I don't know how I'd feel about Mr. Tom, old Tom, ambushing me when I get out of the shower. That could be quite a scary thing. So here's one example of one animal that they can draw differently. Would you like to draw a cat with attitude?
Oh,
I
There's
think-
a challenge
yeah.
for you.
all right.
Now, this is where when I'm...
Oh, is Anne going to
more
draw?
We're both
attitude in
going
your
to
draw.
draw.
Alright.
When I get a job to illustrate, when I get a manuscript, it's nearly always written by somebody else. And so I come to my stories not knowing this character, and quite often when I read the story, get to know the character a bit, only then will I think, will I do this in pen and ink, like I was working just with a fine liner then, or maybe I'll do it in charcoal or watercolour or whatever. So I'm going to do my drawing using a mix of materials, because that's what I always do.
Do I do this at the same time?
Yep, and you do
All
it.
right. So because there's only one cat really that I draw, and because Anne loves cats, when I first made up Old Tom over 20 years ago, I showed it to Anne, and I still remember Anne saying, a cat doesn't really look like that. And it was
was very
because
good.
she loves cats that she sort of, you know, and I don't, well, anyway, we'll talk about it more later. I'm going to draw Old Tom. I'm going to draw with a texter because then I won't make a mess. So attitude can be any
Yeah,
attitude.
let's have a think. Who'd like to choose what mood old Tom is?
What
Should we
mood,
take
kids?
someone from the audience? I reckon the girl there in the middle. Big, loud voice. What mood do you think old Tom is in?
Loud, loud. Tell me what he's what?
A cheeky
cheeky
mood.
mood.
So maybe he's just got caught doing something. He's feeling a little bit cheeky. He's hoping he can get away from it. His owner is constantly exasperated. Mrs. Throgmorton, is that right? Is his owner Lee? He's very busy drawing. You cannot interrupt an illustrator when they're drawing. They're very intensely focused on their
Oh,
work.
sorry, Sally. What did you say?
Old Tom's owner is Mrs. Throgmorton, is that
All right.
right?
I'm going to have.
He's focused again. Who knows? Actually, I should be asking you, shouldn't I? Does anybody know the name of old Tom's owner? There's a bonus question. Yes, big loud voice. It's Angela, I think, isn't it? What's her last name? Is it? It is something like Throgmorton, I think. Do you know, big loud voice? I got it right. I reckon I should get a clap for that. Thank you. So can you see, by using different materials, how it can create quite a different mood or quite a
This is a
different
toothbrush.
atmosphere? Oh, there she is. There's old Tom's.
Sandra,
Poor
is that
owner.
is Angela in the picture?
It's all in the picture. It's all looking beautiful. I don't know who's more beautiful, Angela or old Tom. It's hard to decide. He's looking very cheeky because he is about to do something very naughty, and someone is not happy with what's going on. I wouldn't want to be that fish. I wouldn't want to be living as a fish in the same house as old Tom. So you can see Lee uses a very expressive line. So even just with a black texture, you can get a lot of feeling in his drawings. And Anne is using, this looks like some charcoal pencil now, is that right, Anne?
Just a big fat bit of charcoal.
Yeah, a big piece of charcoal. The very beginning was done with some black ink and water, which creates that lovely soft bleeding effect. And can you see that she's intentionally put those speckles around? Can you tell us a little bit why you might do that, Anne?
I collect things. I'm a real collector, and everything's useful to me. It doesn't matter what it is for drawing, because drawing's really about making marks. And for me, a line, and this is important for Lee too, the line is our voice. So if the line can have softness or hardness or splashiness, or even be accompanied by dots, that's drawing as well. So I draw with a toothbrush. I might draw this way with a toothbrush too. But I'll give him wider whiskers.
Pinch some of Anne's ink and put a shadow in here. Oh,
Has anybody here ever drawn with something other than a pencil or pen? Who's drawn with a toothbrush before? Anyone drawn with a twig? Anyone done any printmaking, perhaps with natural things you find around you? Fantastic. That's great. You see how it can do all different kinds of effects.
So, kids, the other thing to remember, Anne and I, the three of us are assuming that a lot of you kids, or most of you kids, love drawing. One big thing to remember is that drawing isn't a competition. It's not about who's best. It's all about you doing it, and there is no right or wrong way to draw. There is only your way. So, because sometimes kids fret means they worry because their line is rough or scribbly. Some kids I draw rough and scribbly in a way, but however you draw, that's the right way. And Anne and I, even though we both draw with lovely loose lines, our technique or way of drawing is still different. And drawing with a texter might suit some kids. Drawing with a computer thing might suit others. But anyway, so where are we up to? Right. Okay.
Have a look at those two cats. Could they look any more different? I don't think so. Can we give them a big clap?
Oh, well. Can I just wait
They're
a bit of...
gorgeous.
Jesus Christ, sorry.
So we've seen a couple of pictures of old Tom now. Lee, do you think it might be time for some people in the audience to do a drawing of old Tom?
Sure.
Would you be
All
happy
right.
to lead them through a drawing of old Tom?
Okay. Look, now, kids, this is what, I'm going to prove something to you now. We're all going to draw old Tom, and it's only going to take about 5 minutes, all right? Because we haven't got much time. This is what I want you to do. I need you to get a piece of paper out, turn it up tall ways, do it very quickly that's called the portrait format.
If they've got a big sheet, you can just draw on one side.
But if you've got a little sheet like this, kids, all right. Now, what I'm drawing now is your piece of paper, so don't you draw this. We're going to do it real fast. And if anyone's got an eraser, I don't want you to use it. That's right. You'd be like an old chook. Now, what we're going to do first is put a dot on our page, which is where we're going to start. So, kids, look where my finger is. Come halfway down. Stretch your finger and about a third of the way do a dot. So halfway down, a third of the way in. That's half, this is a third. Do a nice dark dot. Doesn't have to be exact. Now, the only thing I'm going to say to you in a bossy way is I want you to relax.
Relax.
All right? I'm going to prove
Don't go
you.
to sleep.
So every one of you is going to end up with a terrific drawing of old Tom, but they're all going to be different because you're different. Right. We're going to start off by drawing old Tom's black eye, this spiral. Look here, pencil here. Look what I'm doing, kids. Don't do it too big. You'll run out of space. There'll be tears and you'll need counselling. Look at this. Round and round like that. Off you go. Do it fast.
But relax.
Yep. One reason it's good for me to push you fast is you haven't got time to fiddle about. Look. Now we're going to draw old Tom's good eye. Look, it's a circle with a big black dot. Now we're going to draw old Tom's nose. Look, kids, down and up and down again, like that. It's a capital Y. Now we're going to draw old Tom's mouth. Look, a line up here and a line up there. Now we're going to draw his teeth, make him look a little bit feral. Look, tooth number 1, tooth number 2. Now we're going to draw his tongue. Look, a line like this and a line like that. Now we're going to draw old Tom's whiskers. Look, 3 dots. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Now we're going to draw his eyebrows. Those of you with a brother will recognise this look. Look at this. Eyebrow 1, eyebrow 2. Now we're going to draw old Tom's ears, kids. They're like 2 pointy mountains. Look what I do. Up, down, across, up, down. Now we're going to draw old Tom's big fat tummy. Look, down, around and up. What a sweetie. Now we're going to draw old Tom's big fat bandaged foot. Remember, all this is to try and make him look like a rough 7-year-old boy. Look, big fat bandaged foot, down, around and up. Then you add 4 lines and it makes it look like a bandage. Look, kids, 1, 2, 3, 4. Now we're going to draw old Tom's little foot. It's not wrapped up, so it's skinny. It also makes his tummy look bigger. Look, down, around and up. Now we're going to draw old Tom's arms. Look what I do. A line here and a line there, hand number 1. We're going to draw old Tom's other arm, kids. Look, a line here and a line there, hand number 2. Now we're going to draw old Tom's tail. It's big and bushy. Come on, make that tail big and bushy. Now, old Tom's fishbone is like his dolly or teddy bear. Look, kids, I'm here. A line here and a line there. The head on the fishbone is like a capital D. Look, a line like this. And you do this, kids, over here Look what I'm doing, and then back like that. Now the tail on the fish is like the back of an arrow. Look, down and out. And we do it again, kids, look, down and out. Here are the bones on the fish. Bone number 1 and bone number 2. Now we're going to draw the eye on the fish head. Here's the circle and a dot, and here's a nice big grin. We're going to add 1 line and 2 little marks to old Tom's good eye, this one. It's going to change the look on his face, and he's going to look really naughty. This is the attitude. Look at this, kids. A line like that. Look what we do to his eyebrow. Look, under here. See what I'm doing? Oh, it's not meant to join up, but it's a monobrow. And at the top, kids, look, over like that. We're going to finish his whiskers. 1, 2, 3. And look here. 1, 2, 3. Now what we're going to do is draw his stitches, a line, and 1, 2, 3. Now we're going to draw his bandage. Look, it's a shape like that. And you draw the same shape going up the other way, and that forms a cross. Look, a shape like that. To finish off, we do 6 dots. These are fleas, flies, and nits. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And what we do to make him look a little bit 3D, look what I'm doing, kids. Dark, gradually get lighter, dark, gradually get lighter, and under his tummy, look where I am, dark, gradually get lighter, dark. Now I'm going to grab 3 drawings, and you'll see, no matter where I go, they'll all look like old Tom. Thank you very much. Can I show yours? No, leave it in there. That's all right. 1, I need something big, and there, and we'll get 4. This one. All right, have a look, kids. Now, all of these will look like old Tom, but look how different they are. Look at this one.
Wow.
Here's another one, look.
Great.
Here's another one.
Great.
And here's another one. As if you don't believe me, one more. Oh, you're clever. Actually, this looks a bit like me.
That's not surprising.
Look at this one. Actually, this one's got to go straight to the vet. Look.
That's great.
Let's clap those kids. That's it.
Yeah. So can you see, even
Kids,
though
can you come
Lee
and get
took
your
you
books?
through exactly the same drawing, because of your own style, your own
Thanks.
line work,
Good boys.
how different each of your drawings looked. So that's really important. That is what you're aiming for. Even if you're all being taken through exactly the same drawing, your drawings are going to look different because you're unique. No one can see the world in the way that you do. And that's what you want. You can see even the difference between the way that Lee and Anne draw is quite different. And Lee, just while we have you, do you think there's something, because there's a very different thing about drawing very realistically and drawing in a more comic way. Do you think that you can express personality more when you move things around a little bit? So you could draw a cat exactly the way that you saw it, or you could use your imagination a little bit too.
I think the key is to draw as you want it. You want to draw it. You know, whether you draw realistically, that means you draw things that they look exactly as they do in real life, or you exaggerate them. Exaggerate means make them bigger or more funny. That's up to you, kids. It's part of that thing that Anne and I are both telling you. You draw in your own way, and you just enjoy it.
Great. So I think we've got Anne up next, which is pretty exciting, and Anne's got a few pictures to show us. So Anne illustrates for other people as well. So Lee writes all his own stories. Sometimes you illustrate for other people, but mainly you illustrate your own books. So the characters have come from his head. So maybe you already have a sense in your head of what the character is going to look like. But imagine the challenge when you're given someone else's story. So you have to read someone else's story and imagine what that character is going to look like. And sometimes, I guess, you can be given characters that are quite hard to draw.
Very tricky sometimes. But I do love it when people give me a story that is different than anything I've ever done before, because I don't want to reinvent the wheel. I don't want to feel like I'm always doing exactly the same sort of things. So I will accept a bit of a challenge sometimes. This was a book, Loosey Goosey by Margaret Wilde, which was about a little goose. Now, I've never had a pet goose, so I couldn't draw geese like I draw cats and dogs, because I've had lots of cats and dogs. One of the biggest challenges I ever had was Little Humpty. And Little Humpty is about a little camel and his mum, who eventually, and I'll give the story away by this because I'll just show you the end papers, they eventually get to the great waterhole where they meet lots and lots of camels that are just like little Humpty, so he's got lots of friends to play with. I spent 2 weeks in Alice Springs going to a camel farm and visiting camels and getting to know them. When I was given Chester and Gill, written by Carol Faulkner, I hadn't ever had fish. I'm not mad about the idea of having a pet in a fish bowl or in a bird cage. I quite like having cats and dogs that can wander. But nevertheless, I bought myself a pair of fish. I bought a bowl of water and I popped them in there, and I got to know those fish so well that now I still have one of them in a pond, and he's now about 10 years old, so that's pretty good. But I chose to illustrate this book with a brush because I just thought that was a nice swishy thing to do. And these two I illustrated using smudgy chalks so that I could get them soft and woolly looking. Now, as we said, we've got a really strong message today that we want you to realise that you are all able to draw. You've always been able to draw, and you get better and better at it as you practice. And for me, I get better at things I don't know only by learning about them and drawing them from life or drawing them from whatever, going and meeting them, taking photos and whatever. So part of my drawing is my imagination, because camels really don't talk, and in this book they do. And it's also my memory, because I had to get to know the camels. So I mix my memory and my imagination together to create my characters. And that's what we all do. That's what Lee does. Old Tom is in him already, and he works out how to get him out so you can all see him. So we're going to have another exercise now. I'm going to introduce you to an object that you've never seen before, and I want you to draw it very quickly. So I'm going to get you to look at it.
So fresh piece of paper, or if you've got a big piece of paper, you can use the other side. And have a look.
Okay, this is a teapot. It's an unusual teapot. I want you to look at it carefully. I want you to look at the basic shape of it. It's an oval, not a round thing, it's an oval. I want you to look at the shapes at either end. It has a handle and it has a spout. They're quite unusual shapes. I want you to look at its little feet. Not all teapots have feet. I don't want you to bother with having to do reflections or any of that tricky stuff. I just want you to look at the shape and draw it. So for about a minute, we're going to look and draw and look and draw. And you will all do your own teapot, just like you did your own Old Tom. Nobody's will look the same. Usually I start with the biggest shape first.
Show them, give them
Different angles?
Yeah.
Okay. Very weird angle, that one. The other way.
So kids, think of, while you're looking at this, think of how it might remind you of a character or a person. Think of the things that we have on us that make us, like noses, eyes, all that stuff.
But for the moment, you're getting to know teapot. This is where, once you've drawn this, in 10 years' time, you'll still be able to draw this. I absolutely promise. Usually, if I was having to get to know this teapot, I might draw it 20 times. So I'm giving you a bit of a challenge. I can see some good-looking teapots down there. 20 more seconds. Don't get panicky. Just look at what is there and look at what you've already got and see if there are any bits that you haven't looked at carefully. You can always draw over things. I find when I sketch, I might have quite a number of lines because this isn't a masterpiece drawing. This is a drawing about getting to know something. Oh, it's got a wonderful lid.
Might actually have some tea in it.
I think it might talk. Might have some tea in it.
Very
This
old
is Lee's
tea.
teapot. He knows this teapot. Okay, now Lee's going to take over here because what's going to happen next is you're going to create a character from your teapot. So I want you to not look at the drawing any longer. Get a new page. And now we're just going to use our memories.
Righto. So kids, what I want you to do is quickly draw the teapot again. Just do it. Just relax. If you're drawing on the same page, you can copy it. That's all right. Because it's going to look different anyway. Go, quick. Now, what we're going to do is pretend that someone has written a story. It may well be you about a teapot, and they've said, righto, what we want is for you to turn that teapot into a little character. All right, quickly draw it. Now, what you're going to do is you're going to add, don't do anything yet, because I'll run through it. We're going to add eyes, ears, nose, mouth, arms, legs. All right, now, I'm going to quickly, yes, I'll draw it, but I'll make a mess with this darn ink.
Do you need a bit of paper?
No, really, it's the pen there. This is where I wear black because I'm covered in ink. Right, now say this is your teapot, kids. Look, when I give the word, I can't even remember sort of what my own teapot looks like, but it's got a handle there and a lovely old spout there and funny little legs. Now, when I give the words, you're going to add eyes, then you're going to add a nose, then a mouth. Now, someone down there might add eyes like this, look. Someone else might turn that into an eye. Someone else might put eyes there. Because you're making this up, you're not copying it, you're the boss. So you don't have to say, can I, am I allowed? Do you understand? Get ready. Righto. Okay, draw the eyes, go. Any sort of eyes you like.
Eyes on stalks?
How you want to do it?
Yeah, it's good.
All right. Now, draw the mouth. Any sort of mouth, kids. It can have teeth. It might have teeth like Old Tom or Mr. Chicken. Or you don't have to have teeth. Now, has it got a tongue? Right. What about the nose? Has it got a nose? Is it big, little? It could have 3 noses for all we care. This is your teapot character.
Alien teapot.
Now we're going to do the legs, kids. How many legs has it got? What sort of feet? Now these are the questions that artists, illustrators, authors, writers, whatever you want to call us, have to think about. Every time we write something or draw something, Terry Denton, Anne, me, Graham Bass, or whoever it is, we have to make these decisions. Right, if you want a tail, add the tail on it. If you want devil's horns, it's yours, you can do what you like. Is it sweet or nasty? You remember how I added that line that made old Tom have a real attitude. Now, what's that school here, please? Oh, middle. Right, you bring your drawing down, please. Quick. And
You're not
someone
in
from
trouble.
Furbank, quickly. And up the back, hurry up, quick.
Somebody from every school.
Yeah, from every school. Thank you, Anne. But quick, kids, without breaking your neck. There'll be tears and you'll
So someone
need
from the
counsel
front,
again.
from St. Monica's?
Okay,
Yep.
right, up you come. All right, look at this, kids.
Let's look
Now-
at some of these drawings.
I don't know how long we've got.
We've got about, we're still good. We've got about 15 minutes and we'll
Oh,
do
great.
a bit of questions after too.
Righto, what you're going to see now, look, kids, a lot of you kids will never have, I'm not saying today's going to change your life, but a lot of you kids will never have created anything yourself before. You copy and you worry. Anne and I are going to prove to you now that every one of these teapots will be different because your memory of the teapot is different and your imaginations are, and your way of drawing. Right, number 1, look at that one. How big is that? Is that big enough to see?
Yes, that's great.
Here's number 2, look, different. Very different. Some kids are going to need counselling, I think. Look at this one. Oh, good grief. Look at that. Look. Once again, who is the name of that student? Right. And more. You better prepare yourselves. Look at that one. Right. Next one. Clever boy. Look at that
that's
one.
Funny.
Wow.
Oh, wow.
Now, right, line up, quick.
Who's next?
There we go. Oh, what a little sweetie. Look at that one. That's part teapot, part casserole dish. Now, oh, look at that one.
Wow.
Oh, that's a great one.
Right, over here.
So if
Now
you-
remember, like old Tom, there is no right or wrong answer here. These are just different answers. Good boy, up your pop, kids. Look at these, look. Look how different they are. Just as Anne told you. Look, your memory, and have we got them all now?
One more.
One more?
down here. Can you pass the
Hello?
drawing along? Or
What's
two
your
more.
name?
There's a girl here and a boy just here. Do you want to
This
pass
is
your drawing?
Tiana from Fountain Gate. Look at that little sweetie, look.
Oh, very sweet.
Now, kids, you line up here quickly and let's give them a big clap.
One more.
One last one.
Oh, and what's your name? Reagan. Here's Reagan from St Monica's. Look at that little one.
Great.
Right,
Beautiful.
good boy. Line up and let's give them a big clap.
Yeah.
There we go, kids. I'm going to line them up because I can't remember. I'll lay them in a line. There we are,
We'll
Sally.
put
You
them
can.
down here.
Fantastic. So you can see that just by taking an
down.
everyday object, first of all trying to draw it the way that you see it,
Grab
that's
yours,
what
kids. Thank
gets
you very
stored in
much.
your memory. And then later on adding your imagination, how you can come up with your own character. And that's a lot of the way that illustrators work. So I'm hoping some of you might have some questions. I'm going to rove around the audience now with this big microphone. So if you've got a question, put your hand up nice and high so we can see you, and I'll come around and Anne and Lee can answer your questions.
What inspired you two to be drawers?
Well, I just did it as soon as I was born, I think. But my mum was an artist, and so she had a lot of art materials around the house. My dad wasn't a real drawer, but he was a builder, more like a sculptor and a maker of things. So drawing is really useful for all sorts of stuff. I just did it.
And how about you, Lee? What inspired you to draw?
Well, I love drawing and it's the only thing I've ever been able to do. I was hopeless at everything else at school. So I didn't have any choice. And I wasn't allowed be in sports teams because I was too dangerous. So there we
All
go.
right, here's another question. Go ahead.
What inspired you to draw Old Tom?
Where did that question come from?
Right
Over
in the
here,
middle.
what's your name?
Alex.
Alex. What inspired you to draw Old Tom?
Because I'd been illustrating other people's books and I couldn't really engage, I couldn't get into them because the characters were too sweet. So I thought I'm going to make up my own little character that has a good heart, and it's because the Angela and Old Tom story, it's a love story about a mother and a son, but I wanted a character that looked a little bit naughty, that you kids might sort of think, oh, I think I know him. So that's where he came from.
Is there a little bit of you in Old
A
Tom?
little bit, no, there's
I
more-
think there's a huge bit of old.
there's a little bit of me in Mr. Chicken too, I think.
You do like to travel. Here's a question over here.
How did you two meet?
We met when we were both working at the education department, where we were doing magazines, illustrations for magazines for kids and teachers.
And it had never occurred to me to do kids' books, but I remember when I first met Anne in 1984, and she had this book, Pet for Mrs. Arbuckle. And I thought, wow, that'd be a lovely thing to do illustrations for kids' books. And in fact, it's meeting Anne and seeing someone who was involved with cats that led me on, in a way, to create Old Tom.
So you guys have been friends for about 30 years.
Yeah,
That's
we have.
fantastic.
Yes, there's been
Great.
yes,
That's
it's,
lovely. All right, you had your hand up.
Who inspired you to make Horrible Harriet?
I used to teach at Preston Tech, and so just about all my characters are based on Preston Tech students. So Horrible Harriet was a girl I used to teach. In fact, she's probably, oh no, look, scanning the audience, she might be a teacher now. Yeah, so that's where
She's
she
a
comes.
great character, though, isn't she?
Oh, yes,
Because even
Horrible
though she's
yes.
sort of, well, horrible, she is actually very endearing.
And she's going to be at the Sydney Opera House next year. They're doing a play.
And she can sing like anything, I
That's
suppose.
right,
Yep.
she can.
Great, here's a question.
This is a question for Lee. Who's your favourite character out of Tom and Mr. Chicken?
I like them both in different ways. Mr. Chicken is the most ridiculous one. I sort of like him, but Old Tom is the one I can have more fun with because he can change his expressions.
All right, I'm going to stretch
very
over
good
to this boy with his hand up
question.
high. Big loud voice.
What inspired you to do different techniques?
Good question. Do you want to answer that one, Anne?
I've always, as I said, my mum had lots of art materials around, lots of friends who were artists, and they used to just get me to use different stuff. And I just found it really good. So I became an art teacher, like Lee did. And when you're an art teacher, you have to teach people how to use all sorts of different things. So every time I get a story, I think maybe I'll sew this story, maybe I'll draw this story with ink. I just like using different materials. When I'm at the beach, I draw in the sand. Just draw all the time.
Fantastic. All right, over here.
Have you ever done a book together?
Yes, and I forgot
we?
to bring them,
Oh,
the Ding
yes.
Dong Daily.
Yes, we did do a book together a long time ago.
Yeah.
That was before I started to write books. Someone else wrote it, and Anne and I both did
They were
pictures.
big books, and they were called the Ding Dong Daily and the Ding Dong Daily Extra. And we both did pictures on every page. We did pictures together. It was a
Mentioning
strange thing.
The influence.
Oh, yeah.
Now, kids, one thing too, there's nothing wrong, when I mentioned before about copying, there's nothing wrong in, say, you see a picture and you think, gee, I love how that's done. When I met Anne James, Anne used to draw her characters from the back. And that's when I first started doing that in books. So, and often you can, if you make up a character, can I draw this?
Yep.
If you can make up a character like, here's old Tom from the back, look.
So do you remember when Anne was drawing her cat? She drew her cat
Yes,
from the
because
back?
she...
I did too. This one, it's not that I draw everything from the back, but I am interested in body language, because when I was a little kid, I was basically blind. That's a really weird thing for an artist, but I had really bad eyesight and they didn't know I needed glasses till I was in grade 3. And I think I got used to reading people by their body language and recognising people by their shape or their silhouette. And so that's why I think I quite like things from the back as well as the front, because maybe I would only see the details when I got really close.
And
Don't
we
know.
met a Belgian illustrator recently who was saying when she was young, she was almost deaf, and that was what created that need in her to express herself, to draw. So often you work with the skills you have. Lee was no good at sport, so that's why he took up drawing.
Thank goodness.
I was not just no good, I was dangerous.
All right, let's do the girl here.
Do you both like being illustrators?
It's a lovely job, isn't
Well,
it?
yes, well, I, as I say, I love drawing. All I ever wanted to be was an artist. So I love drawing in particular, but I love painting and using things. So that's what you should be, no one should use the word should, but drawing is first off, kids, just a delight. And may I suggest that any kid in here that really likes drawing, ask your mum or dad or whoever looks after you to buy you a little sketchbook. And on the front page, you do "this book belongs to" in your name, and all your little thoughts, turn them into visual, what we call drawings, and that's your personal little book full of all your imagination on paper.
It's a great idea. The other thing is that illustration is really about telling story. And I've always loved stories. I love people telling me stories, and I like to tell stories. And the best way I can tell stories is using pictures. So some of you people will be like that as well. And you borrow stuff from life, just like I was showing you. You get to see real things, but then you use your imagination. And it will only be able, you can share it with somebody once you actually draw it down. And so it's a great way to communicate, really.
And you don't have to share anyone till you're ready either, do you? So you
No.
don't have to worry about your first drawing being your best drawing. They're all just practice drawings, and when you feel ready, you can show them.
And sometimes my first wonky drawings, at the time I think they're not very good, but then I come back and look at them later and think they've got a real spark in them. And so they can be the good ones.
And see, Anne and I shared what's called a... How long have we got, Sally?
1 minute. We've got
Anne,
time for one more
Anne
question.
and I shared a studio for a long time, and so we'd see each other work. And often Anne and I would be working on different books, but we'd do the same drawing about 20 times to try and get it right, because you kids only see it finished. But underneath, I might have done Mr. Chicken, you know, that fat bottom there, 30 times to just get the right look. So it was really interesting observing how we all work.
I wanted to show you this. I did a book. This is a book called The Butterfly, and it's actually a lot of interesting pictures about the wind. But the wind is invisible. Anyway, this was the picture I wanted to do, which was about a ship in a big ocean, and there was a storm, and the wind was getting enormous. And I did this ship maybe 12 times because I was so hopeless at ships. I can't draw ships and motorbikes. Lee got so upset with me drawing this so many times, he jumped over the desk and came over and said, that one is the one. And I got so excited that he'd chosen this one and I didn't have to do yet another that I ripped it off its pad and it tore. This one that was my one and truly one, it tore. So I stormed out of the studio, went on a walk, came back and saw on my desk a flash of lightning. So my mistake became a flash of lightning and then I tore some more flashes of lightning in the picture. So in fact, that wonderful thing of having Lee being able to see that I was already doing a good job that I couldn't see ended up in the book.
Sometimes there can be happy accidents in that way.
Yep.
So you've got lots more questions, I'm sure, and it looks like you're all really inspired to go away and do your own drawings, which is exactly what we wanted to come out of this session. So can we give Anne and Lee a really big clap and thank them so much?
Thank you. Thanks, Sally, too.
Yes, thank you, Sally. Well done.